The Alamo City skyline looks different from my studio apartment window than it did from the master bedroom of our 4,000 square foot house in Stone Oak 3 years ago. I had everything. Now I work double shifts at a 24-hour diner off Highway 281, serving truckers and night shift workers who don't know that I used to host charity galas and drive a $60,000 Lexus. They just know me as the tired woman who remembers their coffee orders and keeps their cups full. My name is Clarissa, and I threw away 17 years of marriage because I was bored. That's the ugly truth I've had 36 months to accept. Not because Lance was cruel or unfaithful or any of the reasons that make people sympathetic to divorce. I destroyed my family because at 39 I felt invisible, and a 20-year-old kid made me feel like I mattered again. Lance and I met in college at UT Austin. He was studying engineering. I was in communications. We got married 2 years after graduation, had our son Garrett at 24, bought our first house at 26, and our daughter Sophia at 27. By every measure, we'd built the American dream. Lance worked his way up to senior project manager at a major construction firm. I stayed home with the kids, volunteered at their schools, managed our social calendar. We weren't just comfortable. We were genuinely happy. Or at least Lance was. The problem started when Sophia entered middle school. Suddenly I wasn't needed for school pickups or homework help. Even the PTA meetings I'd organized for years felt pointless. Lance would come home talking about million-dollar projects and new contracts, while my biggest accomplishment was reorganizing the pantry. I started feeling like a ghost in my own life, just going through the motions that didn't matter to anyone. That's when I decided to go back to work. Not because we needed the money. Lance made $200,000 a year plus bonuses. I needed to feel useful again. I got a job at a marketing agency downtown, nothing fancy, just social media management for local businesses. The pay was laughable compared to Lance's salary, but it wasn't about money. It was about having conversations that didn't revolve around meal planning and soccer schedules. Tyler worked in IT at the agency. Fresh out of Texas State, still had that college swagger and energy that made everyone in the office gravitate toward him. He was the guy who fixed your computer and somehow made you laugh while doing it. 23 years old, tall and lean with dark hair that flopped into his eyes, the kind of casual confidence that comes from never having faced real failure yet. The flirting started innocently. He'd stop by my desk to check my system more often than necessary. He'd bring me coffee from the break room. He'd ask about my weekend plans like he was genuinely interested in hearing about Garrett's baseball games and Sophia's dance recitals. I told myself it was harmless. I was old enough to be his. Well, not his mother, but definitely his much older sister. "You don't look 39, he said one afternoon, leaning against my cubicle wall. "I would have guessed maybe 30, 31 tops." I laughed it off, but that comment lived in my head rent-free for days. When was the last time Lance had complimented my appearance? When had anyone looked at me as something other than Garrett and Sophia's mom or Lance's wife? The stupid thing is, Lance was still a good husband. He brought me flowers every Friday, just because. Never forgot our anniversary. Still held my hand when we watched TV. But it felt routine, like he was checking boxes on a good husband checklist. Tyler's attention felt electric, dangerous, new. The first real line I crossed was accepting his Facebook friend request. Then Instagram, then Snapchat, which I had to download just to talk to him. Late-night messages started flowing. Nothing inappropriate at first, just memes and jokes and how was your day check-ins. But I found myself hiding my phone when Lance walked into the room, deleting conversations, creating a secret email account. "You seem happy lately," Lance commented one evening over dinner. "The job must be going well." "It's nice to use my brain again," I said, not mentioning that my brain was mostly occupied with counting down the hours until I'd see Tyler again. The emotional affair lasted 3 months before it became physical. Tyler invited me to happy hour with the younger crew from work. I told Lance I was building workplace relationships, important for my career development. He encouraged me to go, even offered to pick me up if I wanted to drink. That night, after too many margaritas and too much loud music at a bar on the River Walk, Tyler kissed me in the parking lot. 23 years old, probably kissed dozens of girls his age, and here he was choosing me. I felt selected, special, alive in a way I hadn't in years. "I can't stop thinking about you," he whispered against my neck. "Age is just a number, right?" Every rational part of my brain screamed warnings, but I was already gone. The next week, I told Lance I had to work late on a client presentation. Instead, I went to Tyler's apartment, a typical bachelor pad with video game consoles and empty beer bottles. We had sex on his futon, a futon, and I felt simultaneously powerful and pathetic. The affair continued for 4 months. Lunch hours at his place, weekend work emergencies, late nights at the gym that I'd joined but never attended. The lies came so easily, each one building a wall between Lance and me. He never questioned anything, trusted me completely. Why wouldn't he? I'd never given him a reason to doubt me. Tyler made me feel 25 again. He'd text me constantly, send pictures from his workouts, plan elaborate scenarios for our next encounter. He introduced me to music I'd never heard, shows I'd never watched, apps I didn't know existed. When I was with him, I wasn't someone's mother or wife, I was just Clarissa, object of desire. What I didn't realize, or didn't want to realize, was that for Tyler I was a novelty, a checkmark on his sexual bucket list. Hot older woman. He probably bragged to his friends about banging a MILF. The signs were there if I'd wanted to see them. He never wanted to go anywhere public together. Never suggested meeting my friends or having me meet his. When I mentioned my kids once, he changed the subject so fast I got whiplash. The beginning of the end came when Sophia got sick at school. Really sick, throwing up in the nurse's office, crying for me. The school called my cell, but I was at Tyler's apartment, phone on silent, in the middle of something I can't even think about without feeling sick myself. They called Lance at work when they couldn't reach me. He picked up our daughter, held her hair while she threw up, brought her home, gave her medicine, tucked her into bed. Then he called me. No anger in his voice, just confusion. "Where are you? The school couldn't reach you. Sophia's sick." I made up some story about a client meeting in a dead zone, rushed home with my hair still messy, and my shirt buttoned wrong. Lance didn't say anything about my appearance, just updated me on Sophia's condition, but I caught him looking at me strangely, like he was seeing me for the first time in months. That night, I watched him help Garrett with algebra homework while I made soup for Sophia. This man who worked 60-hour weeks, who managed multi-million-dollar projects, who carried the entire financial weight of our family, sat patiently explaining equations to our son while I'd been fucking a kid barely out of college. The guilt should have ended it. Should have sent me running back to my marriage with renewed appreciation. Instead, I doubled down. I convinced myself Lance was too boring, too predictable, too safe. I deserved passion, excitement, youth. I'd given him my 20s and 30s. Didn't I deserve some fun? Tyler started pulling back after the school incident. My texts went unanswered for hours. He was busy more often. Canceled our lunch plans twice in 1 week when I confronted him, trying to play it cool but failing miserably. He shrugged. "I figured you needed to focus on your family stuff," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Your kid was sick and all." "She's fine now," I said, hating how desperate I sounded. "It was just a stomach bug." "Cool, cool." He was already looking at his phone, probably texting some girl his own age who didn't have to sneak around, who could spend the night, who didn't have stretch marks and a mortgage. I became that woman, the one who sends too many texts, who drives by his apartment to see if his car is there, who stalks his social media for clues about where he's been. I saw him tagged at 6th Street bars with girls who looked like they were born yesterday. Saw him comment heart emojis on Instagram posts from a blonde named McKenna who worked at the gym. The final destruction came on a Thursday. Lance had taken a rare half-day off to surprise me, maybe take me to lunch. He walked into the agency holding roses, yellow ones, my favorites, just as Tyler was walking out of my cubicle. his hand lingering on my shoulder a beat too long. I'll never forget Lance's face. Not angry, not even hurt at first. Just confused, like his brain couldn't process what his eyes were showing him. Tyler mumbled something about a system update and practically ran to the elevator. My coworkers pretended to be busy, but everyone was watching. "Lance," I started, but what could I say? The roses hung limply in his hand. He turned and walked out without a word. I found out later he sat in his truck in the parking garage for an hour before driving home. When I got there that evening, after Tyler wouldn't answer my calls, and my boss suggested I take the rest of the day to handle personal matters, Lance was in Garrett's room, helping him pack. "I'm taking the kids to my mother's for the weekend," he said without looking at me. "We'll talk when I get back." "Lance, please, let me explain." "Not in front of them." His voice was steel. Garrett, 15 and too smart for his own good, glared at me like he already knew. Sophia, 12 and sensitive, kept asking why Daddy was sad. They left, and I spent the weekend alternating between trying to reach Tyler and drafting explanations for Lance. Tyler finally texted back Sunday morning. "I think we should cool things off." This is getting too complicated. Too complicated. 4 months of risking my marriage, and I was too complicated. Lance came back Sunday night alone. His mother kept the kids for the week. We sat at our kitchen table, the one we'd bought together at an estate sale our first year of marriage, refinished by hand, and I watched my husband cry for the first time in 17 years. "Who is he?" was all he asked. I told him everything. How I'd felt invisible, how Tyler made me feel young, how it wasn't about Lance at all, it was about me. Every cliché in the cheater's handbook poured out while he sat silently, occasionally wiping his eyes. "Do you love him?" he asked when I finished. "No," I said, realizing it was true. I didn't love Tyler. I loved how he made me feel, but that wasn't the same thing. "Do you love me?" I started to say yes automatically, then stopped. Did I? Or had I been so focused on what I thought I was missing that I'd forgotten what I had? "I don't know," I whispered. He nodded like he'd expected that answer. "I'll stay in Garrett's room tonight. We'll figure out next steps tomorrow." Next steps? Like our marriage was a project to be managed. I quit my job the next day. Couldn't face Tyler, couldn't face the whispers and stares. Lance moved into an extended stay hotel, came by every evening to see the kids, acted civilly for their sake. He hired a lawyer. I hired a lawyer. Texas is a no-fault divorce state, but adultery affects property division and custody arrangements. The mediation was brutal. 17 years dissected and divided. The house would be sold. Joint custody of the kids, but they could choose where to stay when they turned 14. Garrett chose Lance immediately. Sophia, torn between us, alternated weeks at first. Tyler disappeared from my life like smoke, blocked me on everything, started working remotely to avoid the office. I heard through former coworkers that he'd started dating McKenna from the gym. They moved in together 3 months later. The house sold quickly in San Antonio's hot market. My half of the equity plus the settlement seemed like a lot until I started looking at rentals. Everything in the kids' school district cost a fortune. I ended up in a 2-bedroom apartment in Medical Center, 40 minutes from their schools with traffic. The kids hated it. Hated sharing a room when they visited, hated the thin walls, hated the smell of curry from the neighbors, hated that I couldn't afford the cable package with their shows. Sophia stopped staying over after 6 months. Garrett only came when Lance made him. I applied for marketing jobs, but word travels in San Antonio's professional circles. Nobody said anything directly, but callbacks were rare bills piled up. The attorney fees alone drained my savings. Health insurance through COBRA cost $1,200 a month. The apartment rent was $2,000 utilities, car payment, groceries. The math didn't work. That's when I started waitressing. First at a chain restaurant, lunch shifts while the kids were in school. The money wasn't enough. Added dinner shifts. Still not enough. Found the diner gig. Graveyard shift paid more, and I couldn't sleep anyway. Meanwhile, Lance thrived. It's almost cliché how well he did. Threw himself into work, got promoted to regional director, bought a new house in Alamo Heights, smaller than our old one, but in a better neighborhood. Started working out, lost 20 pounds, looked better at 42 than he had at 30. He started dating after a year. Rebecca, a pediatric nurse at Methodist. Pretty, kind, age-appropriate. The kids loved her immediately. She made Sophia's favorite cookies and went to Garrett's baseball games, never tried to replace me, just filled the space I'd abandoned. They got engaged last Christmas. Sophia called me crying. Happy tears, she clarified. She was excited to be a bridesmaid. Garrett would be best man, a family celebration I'd excluded myself from. I still see Tyler sometimes. San Antonio's big, but not that big. Last month at Target, buying groceries I could barely afford, I spotted him with McKenna. She's pregnant, glowing in that first trimester way. He saw me, I know he did, but looked right through me like I was invisible. Which I suppose I am. The hardest part isn't the poverty or the loneliness or even the shame. It's watching the life I threw away get rebuilt without me. Lance posts family pictures on Facebook. Him, Rebecca, and my kids at SeaWorld, at Fiesta events, on vacation in Florida. They look like a catalog family. Perfect and complete. No space where I used to fit. Garrett's 18 now, applying to colleges. He wants to study engineering like his dad. I offered to help with applications, but he said Rebecca already was Rebecca, who attended every parent-teacher conference I missed while sneaking around with Tyler. Rebecca, who never missed a school event because she wasn't busy getting railed by a coworker barely older than the students, like I was. Sophia's 15, dating a boy from her church youth group. She asked Rebecca for advice about it, not me. Why would she come to me? I'm the cautionary tale, the woman who had everything and torched it for nothing. Sometimes, working the 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. shift, serving coffee to truckers and hospital workers, I do the math. If I'd never downloaded Snapchat, never accepted that friend request, never felt sorry for myself in my beautiful house with my loving husband and healthy kids, where would I be? Asleep in my king-sized bed, probably. Lance's warm body next to mine, maybe his arm thrown over my waist like always. Garrett down the hall finishing a late-night gaming session, Sophia FaceTiming friends about whatever 15-year-olds discuss. A normal Thursday night in a normal family. Instead, I'm here in my polyester uniform, feet aching, counting tips to see if I can afford to fix my car's air conditioning before summer really hits. A customer asks for more coffee, calls me sweetheart in that way older men do with waitresses. I smile and pour, invisible again, but in a different way. The other waitresses know my story, some version of it. They have their own. Darlene's husband left her for his secretary. Maria's gambling addiction cost her everything. We're the ghosts of bad decisions, haunting the fluorescent aisles between the coffee station and the grill. You're still young, Darlene tells me sometimes. You could meet someone new, start over. But I'm 42 now, wearing the consequences of my choices in the lines on my face and the exhaustion in my bones. What kind of man wants a middle-aged waitress who destroyed her family for a fling? Who would trust me? Lance remarried last spring. Small ceremony, family only. Sophia showed me pictures. Not to be cruel, but because she thought I'd want to see Lance in a sharp gray suit. Rebecca in a simple white dress, my children beaming beside them. The photos are beautiful. They look like they belong together, like Rebecca was always meant to be there. I sent a wedding gift. A crystal vase I couldn't afford but felt compelled to give. Lance sent a thank you note in his careful handwriting. Thank you for the thoughtful gift. We hope you're well. Polite, distant, final. Tyler got married too. Saw the announcement on Instagram before I deactivated my account. Couldn't bear the digital reminders anymore. Beach wedding in Cancun. McKenna looked stunning, young, fertile with life I'd never have again. Tyler tagged it, Best day of my life, like our Tuesday afternoons never happened. 3 years. That's what it took to lose everything that took 17 years to build. 3 years since I sat at that kitchen table watching Lance cry. 3 years of watching him rebuild while I spiraled. 3 years of my children choosing him, choosing Rebecca, choosing the stable life I abandoned. The sun's coming up now, another shift ending. Time to go home to my empty apartment, sleep a few hours before the evening shift at the chain restaurant, double shifts on Thursday, just like always. Rent's due tomorrow. A young couple comes in as I'm cleaning my section. Early 20s, probably college students pulling an all-nighter. He's got his arm around her, she's wearing his hoodie. They order pancakes to share, make hard eyes at each other over coffee. I want to warn her. Want to say, hold on to this, don't get bored. Don't think excitement matters more than stability. Don't throw away real love for an ego boost from someone who'll forget your name. But I just smile and take their order. They wouldn't listen anyway. Nobody thinks they'll end up like me, the cautionary tale wiping down tables at dawn, wearing orthotics for feet ruined by too many doubles, going home to nobody. My phone buzzes. Garrett asking if I can send money for his senior pictures. $200 I don't have for memories I won't be in. I text back that I'll figure it out. Add a heart emoji he won't reciprocate. Lance will probably pay for them. He always does now. Covers what I can't. Not out of kindness. We don't talk beyond logistics. But because he won't let my failures affect the kids more than they already have. The young couple leaves a $10 tip on a $20 tab. College kids probably can't afford it, but in love enough to be generous, I pocket it, add it to the senior picture fund that'll never reach 200. My manager nods as I clock out. See you tonight, Clarissa? Yeah, Miguel, see you tonight. Always tonight, always another shift, always another reminder that I had everything and chose nothing. The morning traffic on 281 is already building. Successful people heading to real jobs, important meetings, lives that matter. I merge carefully. Can't afford an accident. Only carry liability insurance now. My apartment complex is quiet when I arrive. Most residents at work or school. Just me and the other night shifters, the forgotten people living opposite lives Mrs. Chen from 3B waves from her balcony. She works nights at the hospital, knows the drill. Inside, my apartment smells like emptiness. Beige walls I'm not allowed to paint. Carpet stained by previous tenants. The furniture I kept from the divorce looks wrong here. Too big, too nice, reminders of rooms they used to occupy. I should shower, eat something healthy, tackle the pile of bills on my counter. Instead, I collapse on my bed, a full, not a queen, all that fits in this room, and scroll through my phone. Mistake. Sophia posted pictures from a school dance. Rebecca did her hair, some elaborate braid I could never master. She looks beautiful, happy, whole. Garrett shared a college acceptance. UT Austin, early admission to the engineering program, like father, like son. Lance commented, "So proud of you, son." Simple perfect there. The father who stayed, who didn't implode their world for a fantasy. I close my eyes, but sleep won't come. It rarely does anymore. Too many ghosts in the silence. Tyler's hands on my skin. Lance's tears at our table, Garrett's disgusted face when Lance came to pack his bags. Sophia asking why Daddy moved out. 3 years, 36 months, 1,095 days, give or take. That's how long I've lived with the consequences of 4 months of selfishness. The math is brutal. 4 months of fake passion for a lifetime of real regret. Sometimes I dream about that Thursday, about Lance walking in with those yellow roses. In the dream, I see him coming, have time to push Tyler away, to choose differently. But I always wake up in this apartment, this life, this reality I created. The worst part? I can't even blame Tyler. He was 23, thinking with his dick, exploring life. I was 39, married with children, supposed to know better. He owes me nothing, never promised anything beyond the next orgasm. I check my bank balance. $47 until tomorrow's tips. Rent due, electric bill overdue, Garrett needs senior picture money. Sophia's birthday next month. Car inspection required. The math of poverty calculating impossibilities. My phone rings. Unknown number. Probably a debt collector. Medical bills from when my insurance lapsed. Credit cards I maxed out furnishing this place, I let it go to voicemail. They'll call back. They always do. 3 years since I had a husband who brought me flowers every Friday. 3 years since my kids lived under my roof. 3 years since I felt whole. I finally drift off as the world wakes up. Another day in San Antonio, starting without me. Tonight I'll serve coffee to people who have what I threw away. Tomorrow I'll do it again, and again, and again. This is my life now. The one I chose when I thought I deserved better than a good man's steady love. Turns out I got exactly what I deserved, nothing but the memory of everything I lost and the knowledge that I have no one to blame but myself. Lance and Rebecca are probably having breakfast now. Garrett rushing for school, Sophia singing in the shower. A normal Thursday morning in a normal family, the life I abandoned for Tyler's futon and empty promises. 3 years, and counting.